Hey, did you see that Joe Rogan and Marc Maron are pissed off at each other? Oh my god, they're going to get into an MMA fight. Who's going to win?
A better you starts today.
Yeah, Marc Maron's angry. And damn tootin' he should be. I guess. Depends on what culture you're in. That's going to be the little discussion that we're going to be having. But first, I've got to tell you, guess what? I started my seminars in Sydney last night, and they're sick. I really, really like them. I thought they were a success. Of course I would. Anyway, yeah, that's what I think you should do with your life. I think that you should come to those seminars. We've got 4 more of them over September. And this is all the stuff that I've been collating over the last year. All the best observations that I've had while reading, so many books about self-help. My eyes hurt. And anyway, come and pick the fruit. It's cheap as the tickets anyway. And on top of that, there is not a better way to get it immersed in you than to go there and be like, I paid money to be here. And so you're not checking porn on your phone the whole time. You're actually there in the moment. I think that people really enjoy going there. And if you don't enjoy it, then shut up and don't talk about it in the comments. But other than that, I think that you should come down. Links below. The next one is going to be about this. Jesus. This is going to be about why you do what you do. That is the next seminar topic. So make sure that you go get your tickets. That link's below. Anyway, Marc Maron and Joe Rogan have been duking it out in the sense that Joe Rogan has taken the usual ground that somebody who is that rich and successful does of, you're just jealous. And can you deny it? Look, anybody that says that that isn't a credible defense, you're fooling yourself, aren't you? The reason that people go like, fuck you, it depends. Like every single field ever, when you are on the ascent in that field, or if you feel like that you never got your dues in that field, you always think like, screw them, they're not that good. And you know how I know? Because I'm a human being, and I do it all the time, constantly. Anyone that's more successful than me in my field, what has he got that I don't have? It's probably because he's part of the Illuminati. He fucks someone in the opposite position. Like, it's always that stuff, isn't it? Come on. Like, there is a lot of sniping to it. So, look, I'll give him that. It's pretty hard to be more successful than Joe Rogan. I mean, what could you be at that point, right? Like, most successful man of all time? Podcaster, MMA fighter, philosopher, comedian. He's got it all. My God, that roided up man has it all. I'm jealous just thinking about it. I'm jealous just thinking about the fact that he exists. So, I fully understand his criticism to that. Fair. Marc Maron's criticism back, in case you have been living under a rock, is that Marc Maron thinks that, okay, you've clearly won the culture war. Woke has been well and truly scolded into the ground. Now you're kind of just saying that libraries are woke. Next you'll be saying universities are woke. That kind of stuff. Food and safety checkouts are that's woke. Supermarkets are woke. Everything's woke. Something that pisses me off. That's the new definition of woke. And he's saying that, okay, what you're doing now is just facilitating the decline of democracy. And that's a much more weighted criticism, you've got to say. But at the same time, he's just jealous. I mean, there's definitely an aspect of it to it. I think that both things could be right at the same time. I would imagine that one of them is slightly more important than the other one. And I think we all know what that is. Joe Rogan flossing on everyone. That's the real winner there. But look, it did make me think about when I was doing this video a while back. I was talking about how the comedy scene in Melbourne just went from woke to anti-woke, and Melbourne didn't notice it. Like the Melbourne Comedy Festival. I mean, the reason they didn't notice it is because they are woke, right? They are the wokesters. And so they just kept living in the fantasy world of, oh, everyone agrees with us now because we're right. And so they just kept pumping out those acts. And that's why we have had a generation of Australian acts that haven't really gone anywhere. We used to produce some really top-shelf international comedy in Australia. Like, you go back to the 80s and the 90s, there is a lot of internationally recognised acts. Where are they now? Where was the next generations? It was completely squandered by them just, like, going down a cultural vein and rewarding those that adhered to the cultural vein. Anyway, then the underground scene came in Australia, and it wasn't like what happened in the Austin scene, but there was sort of that was happening in Australia, and those comedians were selling heaps of tickets by coming up and just being like, you know what sucks? political correctness, it's gone too far. You know what happens, right? And then obviously that died. And as I said before, I think that the new vein of comedy is just attractive men hitting on MILFs. That's new comedy. New comedy is just attractive guys going like, you have a husband? You had 2 husbands. And you don't have any at the moment? Why? You've got big jugs. That's it. That's the new cultural vein. But as you will notice, with each and every one of these tides, they fall in and they fall out, and it is because that aspect of culture, there's going to be deeper sets of culture. This is a very interesting topic. I really like this a lot, actually. There's going to be other, deep aspects of your culture. The classics that we always use, for instance, is in China, when they're handing something to you, they hand it to you with 2 hands. What? But then there's kind of just cultural trends, fashion, that waves in and out. And look, as someone put in the comments of the last time, it was just like, Friendly Jordy's just been here the whole time. I've seen them all. Woke comics, the Special Olympics. Oh man, I slaughtered the Special Olympics. But I truly do attest to that, though. Like me personally, I think that I'm a success in my own mind. But the reason that I think that is because I think, generally, I just didn't go down the trap of the rest of the, YouTubers of following a trend, making that trend my identity mark, because I kind of just understood from reading so much self-help that trends go in and out. Style stays in fashion. And I do want you to remember that. If there is anything that you are going to remember from this talk, I think it's this. Style never goes out of fashion. Style never goes out of fashion. And what is style? Style is coming up with your own unique way of perceiving the world. Like, if I adhered to cultural trends, all right, so what would I do immediately? What would I do immediately in the political landscape that I wanted to be in? Well, when I started out, I would have been extremely cucky, extremely down the Australia Institute Greens path. Then, when that started going out of fashion, then I'd just start being like, PC's gone too far. Do some guest appearances on Sky. I could definitely go down that path. Oh, that's a lucrative one. They're like, oh, the left has gone too far. But look, when people are saying these terms, this is what I've always said on the political channel, right? When they're talking about left and right, basically what they're just saying is, in my mind, I think this is good or bad, depending on my upbringing. These are completely meaningless terms. They are cultural terms. They are cultural terms. It has nothing to do with political landscape. It has nothing to do with, the art of politics, which is divvying out resources and material throughout society. It has nothing to do with that. It's all just like a vibe. It's a vibe. And I think that I understood that very quickly on when I was just like looking into politics. I was like, look, the core fundamental of what politics actually is, it's a very serious affair. It's about what group gets what. And it's about, are we going to be funding this power station, or are we going to fund this type of electricity? It's that kind of stuff. You can turn those things into culture wars. I think that it's extremely detrimental to society to do that, and that is what the press routinely does. And the reason that they do that is that it activates an audience. It activates an audience that just sits there and they think, yep, that's me. I'm not woke, therefore I don't like windmills. They have that they have that outlook on the world. When you were looking at, say, the Australia marches recently, or the Gaza marches, you looked at the people that were marching in both of them, and did you need to? Did they really need to take photographs of the people that were going to be marching down there? You knew that the Gaza one was just going to be filled with a bunch of pasty gingers, thin gingers, with the pasty hair, and a bunch of women with coloured hair just being like, You knew that was going to be it. And then when you went to the Australia March, you knew that it was just going to be a bunch of fat bogans who were like, hey, right? Making those sounds as well. Yay! Which they did. You can go listen to the audio if you don't believe me. This is cultural, right? The things that they purport to care about are cultural. If their culture decided tomorrow that, actually, we should be letting in everybody with open arms, and that just became the cultural talking point, they would change to that. If the Gaza one just changed to this is actually really anti-Semitic, my guy, and Israel has actually got a right to defend itself, they would change. those people would change because they are mush heads. And this is the thing that I want you to understand. You can trace those people in life. And there are many businesses that successfully do it. But the thing is, the tide will turn on these people. These people are fickle. It is fashion to them. And why is that? This is a very interesting point. I think it was in Some of Things, maybe it might have been the book. When you're looking at it, what is this culture based around? What is the culture based around? What is the underpinning principle behind all of this? Like woke, anti-woke, anything that is perceived as woke and anti-woke. Anything that people are marching in the streets for now. What is the perception behind it? It is status. In my culture, I relay that I care about these things, and therefore I go up in social currency. Isn't this this is a brutal thing to think about. But this is why I'm saying that you really need to move away from this. Like, the phrase that I want you to take from this talk is seeing the world through your own eyes. Seeing the world through your own eyes. Because I think, honestly, the more that I've been able to say to my audience over the years, I do not subscribe to any of these, right? I've got my own cult that I follow, down to a wire, right? But even in the Australian context, sitting there and being a Labor simp and making that your identity, that is never going to be famous. But I think that it's just one of those things of like, style never goes out of fashion. There's a reason the Labor Party's been around for 100 years. It's because it's the only party that gets anything done. Look, I've got an entire channel of me rambling about how much I love the Labor Party, right? But that is not a cultural decision. There is nothing there is no fashion that you are chasing by saying, hey, I think this mainstream party, not this specific mainstream party, this specific mainstream party has some good ideas that are going to get us going down like on an upward trajectory. No one wants to hear that. Everybody just wants to hear, yeah, big idea, yeah, it affirms me, right? Like, okay, let's just think about this for a second. If you were from the inner west and you went to the Match for Australia rally and you weren't being ironic, you genuinely just went there because you were like, too many migrants, your social currency would go down exponentially. Like, you would not be seen around those people. You'd probably stop getting invited to parties, first off. That would definitely start happening. Job opportunities would they'd start circulating and being like, he marched for Australia. He marched for Australia. And then they wouldn't get the job. There would be a bunch of aspects of your life that would be noticeably worse. I'll tell you this as well. You wouldn't be getting that freaky inner city BPD pussy, would you? That wouldn't be happening. And this is because you are not following the cultural trend. That's all that boils down to. It just gives that people that like cultural ick. Yeah? Now, conversely, if you just went over to the Bogans and then you were saying, oh, actually, I think the Gaza's pretty hectic and stuff. Don't you think that they'd come out and they're just like, why do you care about that place more than Australia? Hey? Why are you even talking about that other... This guy hates Australia. Get him. And again, what is it? It's just like sitting there and saying, I love this country more than anyone else. What are you doing there? You are affirming your status in that hierarchy. This is what culture generally boils down to. Culture generally boils down to status. This is why when you start going through the world, okay, and look, the thing is, the reason that I'm saying this as well is because I have to remind myself endlessly. Like, I look at the views of people that are clearly following cultural trends or aren't even just doing it consciously. They just are in that cultural zone. And so there is a zeitgeist that builds up around them at that specific time. And they just get easy views as a result. Yeah, I'm jealous of that. Obviously. This is why I have to remind myself of just being like, I'm not going to go down that path. I'm not going to go down the path of easy views. I'm not going to go down the path of audience capture. Because I think that there is real risks with that in the sense that one day the tide will turn out. And this is what you see over and over again with the people that just like overly simp in these categories, right? Like that are just like too anti-woke or like I really care about Gaza. Like all these people, they're always bad people, aren't they? And it is because in that subsect, they are seeking status. So this is the whole thing. I think that once again, and I want you to understand this and I want you to write it down, status is illusory. Status is an illusion. Once you understand that, you start gaining status, ironically. And ironically, if you signed up to Jordan Shanks, you would be getting 3 extra videos of this stuff a week, and it'd be the better stuff as well. Like, the better stuff is obviously behind the paywall, and the reason that you should be signing up to it is, constant and never improvement. It's constant and never ending improvement, sorry. Once you go into constant and never ending improvement as your thesis to life, you just keep getting better and better. And that's what self-help is all about. Self-help is all about getting you to that state where you are just improving by little bits every single day. You're getting a little more productive. You're getting a little bit better at running. Whatever it is. The point is that you need someone that is going to keep you on track. That's why you sign up to Jordan Shanks. That's why you come to the seminars. The next seminar, again, is just going to be about why we do what we do. That's going to be a deep one. Make sure that you get your tickets. I'll see you there.